Hi, Giacomo. Nice to see you. And I don't want to say too much. You can say, if you want, a couple of words to yourself, and I will share your screen so that you can start your session. And after that, I will collect the questions and come back on stage. Okay?
Sure, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, have fun.
Thanks. So it's really a pleasure to be talking at the conference this year again. It's really an amazing conference, I would say. And as Florian mentioned, I am a performance marketing manager here at TX Markets, which is part of TX Group, the organizer of the conference. My presentation is going to be a case study about Google inventory management campaigns. By the way, actually, this case study will also be published by Google in the next few weeks. Of course, I'm also going to explain what Google inventory management campaigns are and show you how we implemented them at TX Markets. But before jumping straight into the topic, maybe let me share with you a couple of words about TX Markets. TX Markets belongs to the TX Group, is actually part of the group, and owns and operates some of the leading marketplace and classifieds website in Switzerland. For example, Ricardo, CarForYou, HomeGate, and Tutti. I work in the marketing team, so in the central marketing team at TX Markets, and our goal is to provide the portfolio companies with marketing services, right? And in particular, we try to work on large projects that can be scaled across several companies. And this case study is actually an example of that. As you might have heard also, TX Markets is going into a joint venture with the Scout24 group very soon. And therefore, they're going to create a new company which will operate all the TX Markets marketplaces, plus also the ones from Scout24. For example, Auto Scout24, Immo Scout24, and so on. So this will possibly bring even more scale to our work. But for today, the case study is going to be about Ricardo and CarForYou. So let's talk about Ricardo first of all. Ricardo is the leading auction-based marketplace in Switzerland. And it's important to stress the fact that it's auction-based because it means that you can actually purchase products on Ricardo, and Ricardo, because of that, actually generates revenue. It is also a very large platform with over 2 million products listed on the platform, which obviously represents a great opportunity for scale for us, in our work, but also, of course, a challenge, and you will find out why later on. Now, let's start with the case study. Around a year ago, more or less this time last year in 2020, we wanted to analyze how users landing on Ricardo eventually behaved and how much revenue eventually they were generating. In particular, we analyzed the traffic coming from Google, and we realized that users coming from Google would mainly land on two different group of pages. Category pages versus product detail pages. Now, the names are quite self-explanatory, I would say. In fact, category pages are pages that show multiple products where a user can obviously choose from. While on the other hand, product detail pages only show one product. And that is where the auction takes place, and that is where the purchase also happens. Now, eventually, our analysis showed that users landing on product detail pages eventually were generating more revenue. Maybe this was a bit counterintuitive. In fact, we might have thought that users landing on category pages might have preferred, multiple options. But again, the data eventually told us that users landing on product detail pages generated more revenue in the long term. So we spotted an opportunity here. And the opportunity was to double down on advertising product detail pages specifically via paid search, so via Google search, basically. And this was obviously in order to maximize the revenue potential based on the findings that I just mentioned. Unfortunately, obviously, this came with a challenge, right, with a problem. And the problem was that in order to advertise on Google individual product detail pages, we had to create a unique search ad per every single product detail page, which basically means per every single product. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Ricardo hosts over 2 million products on the platform. And this will mean creating a unique search ad for over 2 million products, which basically means 2 million different unique ads. This, of course, was not possible to be done manually. It was not feasible at all. So we had to search for an alternative, for an automated alternative for sure. So we found a solution to this problem, and the solution was feed-based advertising. Now, this is kind of my specialty. I have a good experience on it. I've been working on feed advertising, among other things, of course, but I've been working on this for a while. And this was definitely what we were looking for. As you can see from the screenshot, the idea of feed-based advertising is to get the product database from the platform, which obviously contains several product informations like the title, the price, the condition, and so on, and use this information to then automatically populate search ads. So as you can see in the screenshot, we start from the product database, which at the end of the day looks like a spreadsheet more or less, and then use this data eventually to create automatically search ads. And obviously every search ad will be unique because every of them advertises a different product. As you can see, the search ad, we are showing several product information like the price, the product name, the positive review rate, and so on. Of course, all this information are also visible on the product detail page. And this was the whole point of this project, to show product information in the ad that are also shown, of course, on product pages. So our goal was to create ads that looked like these examples that I'm showing in this slide. So as I mentioned before, of course, we are showing the product name, which is very important, of course, but also, for example, the from price. As I mentioned earlier, Ricardo is a auction-based website, which means that the prices for products changes all the time based on the auction. But in other cases, there are some products that actually are available for buy now, let's say, and therefore they have a fixed price. So we also wanted to distinguish that. And, we need an automation to do that as well, of course. But also we wanted to show, for example, the number of reviews, number of product reviews. This is very important, especially for a marketplace, in order to communicate the trust, to users. But for example, for cars, which are a very popular vertical, we wanted to show very car-specific information like the year of production or horsepower or even the dealer that is selling the car. Now, the good news was that Google does provide an out-of-the-box, let's say, feed advertising solution, which is called inventory management campaigns. And of course, this is what my presentation is about. But the bad news was that, unfortunately, inventory management campaigns are only available in the Google Search Ads 360 platform, which is the enterprise version of the more popular Google Ads. And unfortunately, it comes at an extra cost. So the whole project would have been a bit more expensive than what we might have thought in the beginning. But anyway, it was great to know that Google had an out-of-the-box solution for that. We didn't need any custom implementation, let's say. So the very first step for the project was to implement Search Ads 360. At the time, unfortunately, we were not using Google Search Ads 360 yet, and therefore we had to implement it. Now, this involved a whole project on its own, which I'm not going to focus on at the moment, of course, but just so you know, it took us a few months to get started. The second step was to create and import the product data feed into Search Ads 360, so basically the product database, right? Now, in order to do that, we used an excellent tool actually called Feedonomics, which is an enterprise feed management tool. And it makes very easy to work on product database, especially very large ones. As I mentioned, we're talking about a 2 million product database, 2 million products in the feed, basically. And Feedonomics was essential to be able to work on it easily and quickly. The third and last step was to eventually finally create the ad template. As you can see from the screenshot, Search Ads 360 gives you the possibility to create a template and then enter either static values or dynamic values per each headline or description of the search ad. Of course, what we wanted was dynamic values, because again, every product name will change depending on the product you're advertising. And also, of course, the price will change all the time based on the auction. So the whole point of our project was to be able to show dynamic values in our ads. And that was possible thanks to inventory campaigns in Google Search Ads 360. So eventually, this was the outcome of our work. So this is kind of how the user journey looked like eventually. So for a user searching for a very product-specific search query, like PlayStation 5 kaufen Schweiz, sorry for my bad German pronunciation, but I'm quite new in the country, so which means PlayStation, well, buy PlayStation in Switzerland. This is a very product-specific search query, let's say, and we want to show a very product-specific ad against that. So as you can see from the screenshot, the ad is showing, a very specific listing from Ricardo, which is PlayStation 5 Digital Edition, which is one of the listings, one of the many listings we have. And then we are showing the price, as I mentioned before, the end date for the auction, the number of offers already made, the positive review rate, the number of users, so many information that can help the decision process, for a user. So it can help eventually users to decide whether they want to purchase a product or not. Now, the beauty of Search Ads 360 and inventory campaigns in general is that it's easy to scale the whole project across multiple accounts. As I mentioned, we started with Ricardo. That was our, the first company we worked with. But soon after Ricardo, we were able actually to implement the very same template and the very same project onto CarForYou. And because of all the work we've done, we had done already in Ricardo, it was very easy to then translate everything onto CarForYou. So for Ricardo, it took us, I guess, 3 months to get started and to actually monitor campaigns and be happy with performance. After that, we could start with CarForYou, and then the process was way quicker and also easier, of course. But the goal now, potentially, is to scale the project even further and possibly to other companies in the group, for example, Tutti or HomeGate. Now, let's have a look at the performance of this whole project, right? Performance actually looked great and eventually quite outstanding, I would say, as well. In fact, inventory management campaigns, which are just shortened by IMC, generated an increasing trend of revenue across the whole period. So we started working on it in March 2021. And as you can see from the red line, revenue just increased very significantly, and I would say even constantly throughout the period. At the same time, the ROAS of the campaign, which means the return on the ad spend, which is basically the ROI of the whole activity, also increased throughout the period. And I have to say, at the same pace as revenue, which is great news for an advertising manager like me and for our team as well, because all you want as an advertising manager is to maximize revenue, but also to increase the return on the ad spend. Also, at one point, the good news was that inventory campaigns, as you can see, had a higher ROI, higher ROAS than other paid search activities, especially starting from August. So this was definitely a success. And the same happened in CarForYou. CarForYou started a bit later, started in May. Here we're not talking about revenue anymore because CarForYou is just puts in contact potential car buyers with dealers, doesn't actually sell cars directly to users. So here the main metric, the main KPI is leads rather than revenue. But the story is the same. As you can see, leads in the red line have increased consistently throughout the period. And the CPA, which is the cost per action or cost per lead in this case, went down quite significantly as well, and to a point where it was even lower than other paid search activities. So all in all, the project was very successful, the performance were great, and we hope that we could scale it even further, increasing the spend, the revenue, and potentially even to other companies. If you have any question, I will be very happy to answer. Thank you.
Excellent, Giacomo, right on time. So are there some questions to this nice informations? I saw something in the chat from Santa Koslova. why don't we always get such relevant ads on Google Ads?
Well, I guess because not everybody runs inventory management campaigns. So this could be the short answer. No, because obviously, as I said in the beginning of the presentation, this is not, something like I've shown before is not possible to be done manually. So you need to have an automated solution. Inventory campaigns from Google is one of them, but it's not the only one. There are many on the market as well. I will say the one from Google is probably one of the cheapest, actually, one of the most effective as well, because obviously it integrates with Google seamlessly. But there are other solutions on the market as well.
Okay, and he also said, nice job, and Retro Spiri says, very impressive. And Santa is a good one. And thanks a lot for this insightful presentation. So if there are no questions anymore, I don't see this in the chat. So Giacomo, thanks a lot for this great stuff you presented here. Have a nice day, and thanks to joining the speaker lineup at this conference. So have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
It was great. Thanks.